RIMS is global. Discover why 10,000 of your peers in more than 60 countries are part of the world's largest risk management community. Visit rims.org/membership to find the best membership for you and your organization. Coming to you from RIMS headquarters in New York, this is RIMScast, the official podcast of the Risk and Insurance Management Society. I am Justin Smulison, Business Content Manager here at RIMS and your proud RIMScast host. This is episode 398. We will be joined by Jeff McKissack of Defense by Design to talk all about reputation risk management. But first, let's talk about the RIMS CRMP. We are delighted to announce that on August 27th and 28th, RIMS President Manny Padilla will be leading the two-day in-person workshop at St. John's University at 101 Astor Place in New York City. A link to the registration is on this episode's show notes. Let's talk about some virtual workshops. The next RIMS CRMP exam prep with Parima will be held virtually July 21st and 22nd. Registration links are on this episode's notes. And we have a summertime webinar on July 16th. Zurich will present Too Hot to Ignore, Heat-Related Injuries and Workers' Compensation. Register at rims.org/webinars and via the link on this episode's show notes. Also on the webinars page, you will see a two-part series hosted by the RIMS membership department. The Classroom to Career webinar series highlights how RIMS equips students with the knowledge, skills, and connections needed to thrive in risk management careers. Participants will gain insights into industry trends, career pathways, and practical tools that help them confidently step into the evolving world of risk management after graduation. These sessions will be hosted on September 1st and 9th. These sessions are member exclusives and complimentary for members, of course. So if you are interested in becoming a member, this would be the time. Visit rims.org/membership. And we've got another popular virtual series to tell you about. Folks, you can enroll now in the RIMS CRO Certificate Program in Advanced Enterprise Risk Management hosted by the famous James Lamb. Beginning July 15th, workshops will be held bi-weekly from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. Eastern Time. A link to registration is on this episode's show notes. Speaking of ERM, the RIMS ERM Conference 2026 will be held November 19th and 20th in Columbus, Ohio. Registration will open in July. And be on the lookout for the call for nominations for the RIMS ERM Global Award of Distinction. Visit rims.org/ERM 2026 in July for that announcement. Folks, RIMS is back on YouTube. Our handle is at RIMS Official Channel. We've got plenty of videos there, including RIMScast, RIMScast Canada video podcasts, and other informative and entertaining content from RIMS. Subscribe to the channel today. We have more plugs later. Let's get on with the show. Our guest today is the founder of Defense by Design. He is Jeff McKissack, a noted authority in the fields of threat assessment and the prevention of violent crime with over 35 years of experience. He provides continuing education seminars for those in the educational, medical, legal, financial, real estate, human resources, and risk management sectors. And he is one of the favorite speakers in the RIMS Texas chapters. And you can find him at the RIMS Texas Regional Conference 2026 on August 11th at 1:45 when he will present how reputation management is impacting risk management. As you will hear in this interview, his session at the RIMS Texas Regional will dovetail with the risks of physical harm and violence. He's here to provide a preview of his session and to talk about the risk management impact of social media, AI, and deepfake technologies on operations and profits, and how employee activity online and off the clock can ripple through staffing, operations, morale, productivity, profits, and brand image. This episode is a year in the making. Let's get to it. Jeff McKissack, welcome to RIMScast.
You come with credit, big guy, so I got to book you. And here we are. So how are you? You doing good?
Doing great. Yeah, you guys are definitely keeping me busy.
Yes. Well, I'm glad to hear that because you have a strong history with RIMS and the RIMS Texas chapters. Tell us a little bit about them, about your involvement with RIMS and some of the events that you've spoken at and some of the people that we have in common.
Yeah, well, I've certainly spoken at DFW RIMS on several occasions and spoke, hey, guys, shout out to you. Jeff Strigi, who we were both talking about before, he's brought me down to speak at Houston RIMS before. I've done a couple of conferences that were kind of co-hosted by South Texas RIMS. So I've been around that part of the RIMS circuit. And of course, again, last year I was at the inaugural Texas Regional RIMS Conference in San Antonio last year. So 2 years I've had it, 2 years I've spoke at it. I guess they like me.
Yeah, I think so. What's the vibe like for you at a RIMS Texas event?
Well, RIMS in general, I love it because I don't have to explain myself. Whenever I speak to HR or risk management, those are my two favorite positions.
Mm-hmm.
Don't tell him, but even above the C-suite, because I don't have to explain myself to risk managers or HR directors. They totally get what I do and why. The common response I typically get, though, is just, we've never met anybody that does what you do or speaks the language you speak.
Right.
And I get that. And I've heard it for 39 years now. So there's nothing new for me. But I love speaking to people in risk and insurance companies because I speak the language of liability.
Yes.
I do a lot of work with attorneys as well on both sides of the fence. So the fact I tell folks I'm bilingual, trilingual because of all these different industries. So multilingual, multifaceted there. But all of you guys have really seeded into me that education over years of working with you and actually feeling those pain points and having people articulate that to me. And then in my brain, what I come from experience is reverse engineering so many of those scenarios to say, okay, where were the points that this could have been prevented or at bare minimum mitigated?
Right. And you know the acronyms and all that stuff. So you can just dive into a session that you're leading without too much of a introduction. You can just do a little bit more of an advanced deep dive, right? Just from the get-go.
Oh, yeah. In fact, I had a lady that she's the president of an association of independent electrical contractors.
Mm-hmm.
And she called me a while back and she said, yeah, you referred to me so-and-so. And we've just been having some real issues with a lot of our members and their employees. I said, let me guess. You have people working odd hours in isolated locations with expensive equipments on their trucks, right? And she went, yeah. I said, gee, what could go wrong?
Yeah.
And she went, yeah, you got it.
Right.
So it doesn't take much of a push in any given direction to have me jump in and go, okay, here we go.
Exactly.
In fact, I kind of really categorize, I don't care what the industry or profession is. To me, in my brain, the way I think, there are only three types of businesses. You have businesses that have internal employees, you have businesses that have external employees, and you have businesses that have both.
Right.
Because the risks for those three categories are very different from each other. And you have to come at them. You can't, okay, if I'm working in an environment where it's nothing but cameras, alarms, access control because I have internal employees, it's totally different. If I have people in trucks out on the road and I'm paying for the vehicle, I paid for their training, and now something happens with them, totally different security concerns, risk concerns, and liability concerns.
Yeah.
But you have to address both. And a lot of times people only address the first one, not that second, let alone take into account all three.
Right. Fascinating point, because on the one hand, you've got to deal with, let's just make this up, fresh brake pads. On the other hand, you got to make sure that the ladder is secure.
Yeah. I literally just saw a police video the other day. It was one of these, police body cam videos, but it was race or whatever. And this dump truck was just piling through, and the brakes went out, and it went through the intersection, went off in a ravine. Fortunately, nobody was killed. It was amazing because this was a heavy dump truck coming at full speed down a hill.
Yeah.
But why did those brakes give out? Who was responsible for checking those brakes? They dodged a major bullet, that company, by not anybody being really injured or killed. But who is responsible for that?
Right. So a lot of folks know you from the scenarios that you're talking about and from physical defense.
Right.
And so this year you're doing a different topic that does dovetail with it all, and that's reputation management.
Yeah.
When did you realize that this was another part of the equation, and why is that so prescient, vocabulary word, for the risk management profession?
In fact, I have three wheelhouses. These are the three I stay in.
Yeah.
I have physical risk, data risk, and reputational risk.
Okay.
Those are my three lanes. In fact, I've had people, including insurance companies, approach me and say, do you do active shooter training? No, I do not. I deal with factors that can lead to an active shooter training. In other words, what the military calls left of bang. And it'll be before the bang happens. I deal in prevention. I don't deal in reaction.
Sure.
So when you're talking about those, and even in data, I don't deal in cyber security, but I deal with data. And I've had people scratch their heads. What do you mean by that? I don't talk about people who hack your computers. I talk about people who hack your people. And believe it or not, that bleeds over, even as we'll talk about, into reputation management.
Sure.
Reputation management, and again, I've talked about for years, just with the advent of the internet and social media, is taken on a little bit different dynamic, but it's classically either your employees go online with that thing they hold in their hand and they self-incriminate themselves by putting something out there to the world
Right.
that reflects upon your company, or they do something off the clock that can still have impact on your company and its reputation. And there are two courtrooms that we all want to avoid today.
Can I guess what they are?
Go ahead.
Okay. There's the actual courtroom and the court of public opinion.
Bingo.
Ah, look at that. And that was not rehearsed and the balloons are going.
Look at you.
And so I'm going to guess, though, that like you're suggesting, that these three lanes, as you're saying, they intersect.
Yeah, I do.
They do. And so you must have, once the social media part of things came about, I'd say about 20 years ago, that must have been your third lane. And that was when you started seeing a broader picture of what you could provide to the risk profession, right?
Yeah, even though some things prior to social media still end up being headline stories in the traditional media.
Sure.
And they do today.
Right.
So it was things that reflected negatively upon employers. So it's always been there, but social media has massively amplified that dynamic.
Right. Like traditional journalism, and even page 6 stuff for us locals, the New York Post would say, that sort of thing is the sort of thing where that was the gossip column, and that's where the reputation part of things would come in. And so last year you had a different topic. This year you're talking about how reputation management is impacting risk management. It's going to be held August 11th at 1:45 p.m. during the Texas Regional. It examines how reputation management and risk management increasingly overlap. What are the biggest reputation threats organizations are underestimating today? We know the phone is the one that everybody goes to. What's another one?
Well, the other one is the off the clock.
Oh, yeah.
Most people have the adage, whether it's risk management or HR management, hey, not my circus, not my monkeys. Whatever happens off the clock, hey, that's not on me until it is.
Right.
There was I think it was in Rhode Island, a district attorney, this happened about 6 months ago, that walked out of a bar 2 out of 3 sheets to the wind. Cops just wanted her to get an Uber and go home. She made this huge scene about it that was captured, of course, on the body cams. And she may end up getting arrested and all, you don't know who I am. You can't do this to me. Needless to say, by the next day, not only was she fired, she lost her license where she worked. All of these things kind of factored in, and those police body cams, their entire channel is now on YouTube devoted to those police body cams. And there are a number of people and companies suffering the reputational consequences of those channels capturing those, because once they're on those police body cams, once they go on YouTube, those things go viral. And if you look at a lot of those channels, they're in the hundreds of thousands to millions of views that then again get reflected upon that company's public image, even though it was one of their employees off the clock.
Right. Because you're supposed to be exhibiting, not you, but one is supposed to be exhibiting the core values of your employer 24 hours a day.
Yep.
Yes. Which is a tough thing to do. I mean, that's a big ask of practically anyone, right? Yeah. I mean, so I can see where somebody has too much to drink and they start mouthing off, but I could also see where, especially if you're doing something in the public interest or a court officer, maybe you need to have a probationary period at the very, very least, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
To say the least. But the biggest thing to me is education and training.
Yeah.
We think people know what we know in the way we think. No. They don't. I tell folks, it's constantly kind of like for years, the school systems taught our kids not only reading, writing, arithmetic, but drinking and driving, stranger danger, texting, all these social ills. They didn't have to. It was not their responsibility. But years ago, the schools learned if we don't and something happens to this kid off the clock, so to speak, off campus, they're not at school the next day, nobody benefits.
Right.
Well, I got news for you. Risk managers, HR managers, C-suite, you are today's principals, teachers, and guidance counselors. And these employees you have are no different than the kids that the schools have. So there's got to be the assumption of responsibility and education and training if you want to change their behavior, alter the behavior, or expect greater behavior. Do not expect what you do not inspect.
And don't talk down to them just because they're the high schoolers and you're the principal, right?
Right.
Let's take a quick break and talk about all the fantastic RIMS events coming up in 2026. The annual Florida Educational Conference will be held July 28th through August 1st, once again at the lovely Ritz-Carlton in Naples, Florida. A link to the event is on this episode's show notes. As we said at the top, you can register now for the second annual RIMS Texas Regional Conference, which will be held August 10th through the 12th at the wonderful Grand Hyatt on the San Antonio Riverwalk. Visit rims.org/events for registration information. The hotel cutoff date is July 10th. Reservations may still be made after the hotel cutoff date, subject to availability. However, the negotiated group rate is no longer guaranteed past July 10th, so reserve now. The 11th annual Chicagoland Risk Forum will return to the old post office on Thursday, September 24th. Visit chicagolandriskforum.org for more information. The RIMS Western Regional Conference will be held October 4th through the 7th in Seattle, Washington. The agenda is live and registration is now open. Visit rimswesternregional.com and the link on this episode's show notes for more information. And save the dates, October 18th through the 21st. We will be in Quebec City to celebrate the 50th live RIMS Canada Conference. Booth sales are open and sponsorship opportunities are still available. And advanced registration is open now. Visit rimscanadaconference.ca for more information, and also remember to check out rims.org/Canada for our spin-off show, RIMScast Canada, hosted by National Conference Committee Chair Aaron Luconi. The RIMS ERM Conference 2026 will be held November 19th and 20th in Columbus, Ohio. Registration opens in July, and be on the lookout for an announcement about submissions for the RIMS Global ERM Award of Distinction. Visit rims.org/ERM 2026. And now let's return to our interview with Jeff McKissack.
Well, listen, hey, some of these reputational concerns, buddy, they've been C-suite executives. They've been, I just talked about a mayor that was arrested in Kentucky, I think it was, for shoplifting a $70 pair of shorts at a dealer's department store. The mayor.
You would think that the mayor would just walk in with a sash like on The Simpsons that says mayor and then just be given the shorts or say, put it on my bill or something like that.
Yes, he felt he was owed those shorts. Or last week I was talking about a city manager here in Texas that thought it was a good idea when she took her employees out to some conference to take them to a local strip club that night. And she got a few drinks in her and she got up on stage and started dancing around the pole.
Oh.
Which somebody recorded that on social media and the city manager gets fired.
Right.
Hey, city managers aren't easy to come by.
Right.
So in the world of risk management, we have to understand that when these type of things occur, they impact multiple areas, both immediately and simultaneously. They affect staffing, because somebody's going to have to do something there. It affects operations, the way the workflow is now going to continue. It affects morale, because people see what happened. Oh my gosh, did you know about that? Which then impacts productivity, which impacts profits, which impacts public image. 6 areas that every one of those have associated dollar figures.
Yeah.
So this is why reputation management now must be taken into consideration under risk management.
Excellent. So like we said, you know the acronyms. ERM is a big deal for us here at RIMS. Yet another. And so where does reputation risk fit within the ERM framework? And does it receive less attention than it deserves or more attention? What's your take on it?
Well, whenever you're talking about cyber concerns or electronics and things, I look again at this where the 3 areas my wheelhouses kind of overlap.
Yeah.
If I get an employee compromised in a controversial, scandalous, or criminal situation, whether I captured them in the moment on camera or if I created the environment for said compromise to occur, said criminal activity to occur, and I set them up for that to be on camera, do I now have them in the palm of my hand to do my bidding internally at that entity or that company, that institution? I can tell you the stories time and time again, yes. And so reputational concerns, if they're not addressed proactively and communicated about, and some employee gets caught up either in something that happens or something that was created to happen. Either case, it can be used as blackmail to have them do things internally because they have access to certain areas of the company that outside interests want access to.
Jeff, your session is going to highlight the growing threat of AI-generated content and deepfakes. That's an emerging risk, for sure. When did you realize that that was something that was here to stay? Immediately?
No, about a year ago, there was a case that made national news of a local high school principal that was facing the wrath of his community. The public was coming after him with the proverbial torches and pitchforks because of supposedly some racial rant that he was caught saying as the principal of a school with a number of minority students. Come to find out, the athletic director, we're not talking about the cyber guy at the school district, we're talking about the athletic director, was able to, from a digital sample, I think it was from his voicemail, but taking a digital sample of his voice, create that entire verbal tirade from scratch, which was later proven through forensics. In the meantime, this guy not only almost lost his job and his career, but
run out of town, right?
He was facing physical threats, he and his family, from the public over something that never even happened. So that's what was like, okay, we're entering now into new atmosphere. Then even Sora 2, which is one of the newer AI video platforms, has already been called out because it's causing a problem for police, because people are creating videos of real people committing not so real crimes. But with AI, it looks like it is. So as a risk manager, and even this kind of lapses into loss prevention, you have supposedly someone says, I have a video of so-and-so stealing so-and-so. I have a video, whether it's an inside person or an external customer, I have a video of them doing what, and now you make a claim, God forbid they're arrested. All that is now a matter of record, only to find out someone faked that video. Think of the charges and the liabilities that you and your company are now facing.
Right.
And none of those are cheap.
Right. So how do you prepare against that? Is there a quick, I don't want to say a cooling off period, but is there an assessment period where you have to have a cool head, where an allegation comes up or something is posted and you go, wait, first we have to verify that this is actually legit? That's got to be the first step, or a first step, right?
Yeah. And there are softwares out there now that do a pretty doggone good job about figuring out, is this AI generated? And so some of that have to go through. Some companies, obviously investigative companies, are out there. I know a couple that are out there that's where you incorporate them to do the due diligence to see, did this actually occur, whether it's on the clock, on site, off site, whatever the case may be. But from the get-go, what camera captured the action? Was it one of your internal company-owned cameras, or is it something that supposedly someone captured on their phone camera? Because obviously one of those is a lot more susceptible to manipulation than the other.
Sure. But I can see where someone would be skeptical of either.
Sure.
Yeah.
And you have to now be a little bit skeptical. Never has there been more important time in our history to live by the adage, innocent until proven guilty.
Yes. And I feel like I've heard you on a few other interviews where you believe that there's a benefit to a healthy dose of skepticism and paranoia, a healthy dose.
Sure. It's called awareness.
There it is.
That's where the two kind of find the balance. It's like,
right.
You know, you don't have to live in a world paranoid. If you did, I'd probably be one of the most paranoid people on the planet. You know, I've been doing what I've been doing, but I'm not. I still help people jump their car I have to help people take things to their car. I've helped people move things, people I don't know.
Sure.
But I go into those scenarios already factoring in certain things and understanding that I nor anyone else on this planet has a giant S carved onto our chest. And even if we did, even that guy has kryptonite.
Right.
So everybody has vulnerabilities. The first step of preventing a lot of these things from occurring is recognizing your own vulnerabilities, your own stereotypes, your own false premises going into these. Oh, Jeff, well, I'm not worried about this. It's a girl that's asking me to do so-and-so. Yeah.
Right.
You assume she's alone.
Right. You don't know who's waiting around the corner right there for you to drop your guard.
Kid. Yeah. It's an elderly person. Oh, look at what car they're driving. Oh, look at how they're dressed. Yeah.
Yeah.
All these different things. That's stereotyping when you're judging based upon appearances. Profiling is based on behaviors.
Sure.
And that's what we have to remember. You almost have to go in this blind, deaf, and dumb to do true, analytical, unbiased evaluation.
Folks, let's talk about an issue that's near and dear to my heart: sponsorships. You can sponsor a RIMScast episode either on our publicly facing weekly show, that's this show, or with a dedicated episode. RIMScast is proud of its long-standing relationships with AXA XL, Global Risk Consultants, Alliant, Zurich, and more. Links to many of these episodes are on our show notes. And RIMScast sponsorships can be bundled with white papers and webinar sponsorships. RIMScast has a global audience comprised of risk and insurance professionals, legal professionals, students, business leaders, C-suite executives, and more. Let's collaborate and help you reach them. Reach out to my good friend Ted Donovan at tdonovan@rims.org or reach out to sales@rims.org. Let's find the best opportunity for you and your organization. And now let's conclude our interview with Jeff McKissack.
Back to the AI-generated technologies that are going to help companies spot deepfakes.
Mm-hmm.
How are the technologies that cause the problem changing the reputational risk landscape, and how are the ones that solve the problem also changing it? Or is it just as obvious as it sounds?
Well, I mean, you can't do anything about the various AI generation platforms out there. I mean, people, for the most part, are using them for all the right reasons.
Right.
Okay. The thing you have to be concerned about is, again, if it's used to accuse someone of something, or I've used this illustration with the Society of Government Meeting Professionals. So
the Society of Government Meeting Professionals.
Yeah,
okay, cool,
these
cool.
are meeting planners to all the alphabet agencies, the Department of War, FAA, CDC. I've spoken to their annual conference on several occasions, several years. I said, okay, you're bringing all these people together from the Department of War, from the FAA, from the CDC for an annual conference in one place at one time under one roof.
Yeah.
Who do you think might want to compromise someone there so that by the time they return home, they've got them puppeteered?
Right.
And it's getting these meeting planners to start thinking about security in a different way and educating the people. Hey, we love having you here, but now as you're going out to bars and restaurants, we see you tomorrow, here's some things you need to think of because some people here may know who you are and what you represent by way of access.
Sure.
So there's certain things that we take into think. But if something happens and they get lured back to a hotel room for various things, and Mickey slipped in the drink, they're knocked out. The next morning they come to, what happened? I don't know. So now something appears to them by way of email or text a few weeks later. Oh, did you know we had this good a time? And they're looking themselves at the kid and think, Warrior saw this video. They don't even know if it was deep fake or not because they were blacked out. But these are the things that we all have to now in some ways kind of incorporate and understand how easy it is. And I constantly, admonish people when I'm talking to employees at that level. Say, listen, it's not about you. Sometimes you may not have wealth, but you absolutely represent access to things that people want. And so you have to understand that you may have a target on your back that you don't even realize you have.
Yeah.
So when people approach you, you have to think in terms of, okay, does everything that happens in Vegas stay in Vegas or does it stay on social media and YouTube?
Right. Because once it's up there, it lives forever, right?
Yep.
The internet never forgets. That's the phrase I see all the time, right?
I've said before, God forgives, the devil may forget, but social media doesn't do either one.
Exactly. There you go. Now, I don't want you to give away the store because we've had such a great conversation and you're
I'm not.
Okay. So don't give away the store, but what are some practical steps that risk managers can implement immediately to reduce the likelihood of reputation-related incidents like the ones we just said? I mean, you mentioned a great one when you've got all the various, I don't want to call them heads of state, but all the various department heads together in one room. Well, you're going to be drawing attention to yourself. Is a designated survivor type scenario a good idea still?
I think the first step, and I'll definitely allude to this in the presentation, but it's also not the stopping point, but the first step. Do you have a social media agreement in writing that your employees have signed off on?
Mm-hmm.
If not, you, HR, and your general counsel, whether you have them internal or external, need to get together and wordsmith that thing ASAP. I talked to a VP of a company with over 8,000 employees. He said, Jeff, when I was hired here at this company as a vice president, I was paid to sign 2 documents when I was hired. I was paid $50 to sign the NDA, so if I ever left, I wouldn't take the sales list with me.
Right.
But the second thing I was paid to sign was $100 to sign our social media agreement. So in other words, his company of 8,000 thought more about him doing something that could impact their public image than him leaving the company with the client list as the vice president. Think about that.
That's crazy.
First step right there. First step, HR, risk management, general counsel, get together and wordsmith that agreement. How you incorporate even into a code of conduct as far as the off-the-clock expectations. We just had a case in New York City where a sitting judge, young guy, was fired because he was doing an OnlyFans page on the outside, paid for all kinds of activities online, and he got fired. He tried to fight it, but no. It actually held, and the reason being the verbiage that was included in the city manual for his position said, and this is a direct quote, a city administrative law judge shall conduct all of his or her extrajudicial activities so they do not cast reasonable doubt on the city administrative law judge's capacity to act impartially as a city administrative law judge. And here's the key phrase, do not detract from the dignity of judicial office.
That's reputation in a nutshell right there, right?
There you go. Because he tried to fight it, did not work because they covered their legal basis.
Yeah.
And I've seen this time and time again. I just spoke at a risk management conference last week, and I showed 3 lawsuits that were settled in the last 2 weeks, 125,000, 225,000, 485,000 of employees at state and government and university entities and institutions over the Charlie Kirk thing that happened last year.
Yeah.
These companies fired them. They came back and sued for wrongful dismissal, wrongful termination, because there was nothing there that dictated what the expectations were for said behaviors online.
You mean people spoke out and they weighed in with their opinions on the Charlie Kirk assassination, and based on that, they were terminated. Right. And then they sued for wrongful termination. Okay.
Yeah. Because nothing was in writing.
Right.
You've got to have the paper trail, digital trail, whatever you want to call it. If you don't have it in the employee handbook and it's now being added, then have it as an addendum they sign off on and put it in their file. But starting next year with the new hires that come on board, have it as part of the employee handbook, whether it's the social media agreement and or your expectation codes, conduct, whatever you want to call it. But bare minimum, have those things in order. That's your starting point.
Right. Now, is this the sort of thing where when it comes to shifting the mindset, I want to leave upcoming attendees with this idea. When it comes to shifting the mindset, is this the sort of thing that when you onboard an employee, you say to them, and I'd like to call out section 17 over here about social media involvement. Is it a good idea to do that, or is it the sort of thing that you don't call out?
No, I think you treat it like the Apple agreement.
Okay.
I think for the most part.
Oh, really? Just click the button and move on?
Here's the thing, though. What you're talking about is best addressed in education and training.
Okay.
And I'm going to tout my own horn here because this is what I do. I not only talk to executives, I actually talk to employees. And the biggest thing that I'm trying to get HR and risk management and C-suite to understand is if you're going to alter the behaviors, no different than those school-age kids, you've got to teach them what to do otherwise. I refer, and even had it in part of my slide, that classic scene from Raiders of the Lost Ark where Indiana Jones was there and he had the owl he was trying to steal. He had the bag of sand or weights or rocks, and he carefully displaced one for the other. And he still got the boulder. But the idea was you're not going to get your employees to go cold turkey on social media.
Sure.
What you have to do is teach them to apply critical thinking skills so that they police themselves. So that you don't have to. And you have to do it in a way that basically tells them what's in it for them. Because if you're doing this because you're going to save our butts, you're going to make sure we don't look bad. Yeah, that's not going to work. If you teach them how to approach this, because here's what you want to do, because your wife, your kids, your dog, all those people expect to see you tonight. All those people expect you to come home with a paycheck. All those people who are counting on you. And the other thing is, what are your goals? What are you planning on traveling to Europe? Are you looking to get married, looking to get divorced? I mean, what do you want to do next 3 to 5 years? Well, guess what? All of that can be interrupted if you do something foolish now. Right. You've got to show them what's in it for them to buy into that policy.
Right. All right. And Jeff, I'm going to guess that the answer is yes, but is it safe to assume that when you are speaking at a RIMS event or any other event, you like to take questions from the audience?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes, depending upon the time frame, I don't have time in the session, or especially at a risk conference, I've had people come up to me, like I had one police chief that said, "Hey, Jeff, we're facing a multi-million-dollar lawsuit over this reputation thing right now because one of our deputies went online, post something, and the feds are suing us."
Right.
He did not say that during the Q&A time to the audience. He came up to me afterwards.
Sure.
So whenever I'm speaking at a conference, I always tell folks, hey, I'll be around in the hallways because I realize that you may have questions that you really don't want to ask in front of everybody else here.
Exactly.
So that, or reach out to me on LinkedIn or call me. I'm not an attorney. I don't charge billable hours. If you have a question, call me. We'll talk.
Gotcha.
But when in this arena that we're in, a lot of people don't want to put out there,
Right.
But I get it.
Yeah, I get it too. But I can attest to the fact that Jeff will make time with you in the hallways and after his session. That's how we met. So, and you're very approachable. I just remember somebody said, "Hey, it's that really active guy over there with the hat." And I go, "Oh, okay, that's the guy." And that's how you spot him.
Well, I have nothing under here, so I think this makes it infinitely more interesting. So it's become a branding point for me. So everybody and my Uber drivers love it.
Yeah.
I'll tell them, look for the guy with the bright orange luggage and the hat.
Yeah. And there you go. And little special RIMScast trivia for everybody. Not trivia, little RIMScast tidbit. I specifically asked him for a headshot with the hat so that we could make him even more recognizable, because I know people know you down there in Texas. When they see this episode, the thumbnail, they're going to say, "Oh, we know that guy. He's on the show."
That's why we even wore one for the broadcast.
We appreciate it. It's great. It's like your calling card right there. It's part of your own branding. Jeff, when we think about what you just said about the judge and OnlyFans, that brings to mind the idea that there are several employees, no matter what sector they're in, who probably have a side business or a side hustle or their own personal branding that they put out there on social media so they can generate some extra revenue. How does that conflict with their full-time employment? And what are some interesting case studies that you've seen beyond that judge and the OnlyFans?
Well, I mentioned about the city manager that was let go because she went on stage and did the pole dance at the conference.
Yeah.
And again, the mayor that did the shoplifting of the, I mean, there are things that are kind of obvious.
Right.
But there again, when you're talking about side hustles and side gigs, because hey, maybe you got a group of guys and some of them have a band on the weekend.
Sure.
They go to a honky tonk somewhere to play and maybe a barroom fight breaks out. Some things are caught on camera. Okay, but that's not the same as literally having a side gig that automatically puts them in a position of questionable behavior.
Gotcha. Okay. That's a great distinction.
A number of teachers, oh Lord, who have been fired over things where they had their kids in the background in the classroom while they were twerking or dancing with kids, or one teacher was having his students giving him a haircut in the classroom. And there was just certain things that I think go back, and I love that phraseology that used it with the attorney about the dignity of the office.
Yes.
I think that covers a multitude of sins, no pun intended, when you're talking about something like that. Because again, it's subjective, but it's one thing I think most people know it when they see it.
Are we in a society now where you sort of have to live your life assuming that everything is going to be broadcast somehow, even if you're not the one broadcasting it?
I wouldn't say necessarily broadcast, but at least captured on camera.
Yeah.
Oh, I literally, when I'm doing the employee training, will go through cameras that are out there in the marketplace now that are pens, that are lids to Starbucks coffee cups, just the lid, this audio and video, there are buttons, all these things. And I tell folks, you're only thinking of the cameras you see.
Right.
You are not thinking of cameras that could still be out there recording you. That ATM machine doesn't just capture you in front of it. It looks across the street. That Tesla, okay, here's a little tidbit. Whenever I park my car in a maybe a little bit questionable area at the mall or somewhere in a strip center, I always try to find a Tesla. And you want to know why?
Because they got cameras on the cars.
On average, I think there's 7 or 8 cameras around that Tesla. And if I really think it calls for it, I'll take a picture of the license plate of the Tesla next to me. So if anything happens, I can give it to the cops and say, here's the car that's parked next to me with the Tesla with all the cameras. So they'll be able to capture it.
That is a brilliant tip. I love it.
And you were expecting what?
Right. I thought you were going to stop at the band getting into a bar brawl, but
I mean, those are the things that again, my brain works a different way. I get it. But there again, these are kind of things that I relay to people, both executives and employees alike. Strategies, critical thinking. How do you actually use technology to your favor instead of having it used against you?
Yeah. Brilliant. All right. Jeff McKissack, thank you so much for joining us here on RIMScast.
Hey, buddy. Always a pleasure. And I'm looking forward to seeing you all in August.
Special thanks again to Jeff McKissack of Defense by Design. Be sure to attend his session at the RIMS Texas Regional Conference in San Antonio at the Grand Hyatt on the San Antonio Riverwalk. On August 11th, he will deliver the presentation, How Reputation Management is Impacting Risk Management, at 1:45 p.m. Be sure to follow up with him in the hallways afterwards and let him know that you heard him here on RIMScast. Let's talk about RIMS membership, folks. Become a RIMS member and get access to the tools, thought leadership, and network you need to succeed. Visit rims.org/membership or email membershipdept@rims.org for more information. And let's also talk about risk knowledge. This is the RIMS searchable content library that provides relevant information for today's risk professionals. Available materials include RIMS executive reports, survey findings, contributed articles, industry research, benchmarking data, and more. For the best reporting on the profession of risk management, check out Risk Management Magazine. This is the Society's official quarterly digital publication. It is written and published by the best minds in risk management. My name is Justin Smulison, Business Content Manager here at RIMS. Please remember to subscribe to RIMScast on your favorite podcasting app. Email us at content@rims.org. Practice good risk management, stay safe, and thank you again for your continued support.